What's going on, guys? No Guides here. Welcome back to another video. This would be basically a rundown what you may have missed and a basic overview, as well as some, I wouldn't say inside info, but more you could say of information that you might have missed that was kind of talked about on Twitter, which I think people like Zora, they all kind of confirmed. I'll get into that very soon. And this will kind of be also kind of overview on the new FIFA 20 features, which I think is very important. No gameplay, unfortunately. It's mainly just to do with just the menus and how the game, the system actually is, and some UI changes and some changes to the game, which I'll get into. I'll also briefly talk about the issues that are posed, which I think which are potential issues. But let's first start with season objectives. I think this is very important. I think this is something that we all wanted. Apart from daily and weekly, there isn't really any long-term objectives. Now, they've aimed to change that now by introducing two. So daily and weekly will remain as objectives. But what they've done now is they've introduced new objectives such as dynamic and season. Now, seasonal objectives are basically last for 1 month. So September to October will be one season. Season 2 would be October to November, etc., etc. So, I mean, technically speaking, it should be 51 seasons until FIFA 21 comes out, because you don't really count the last month. But anyway, so that's going to be, new objectives to finish for the whole season. So they don't say what you can get, but this might be an example. Week 1 you finish bronze, week 1 you do bronze, silver, gold, and maybe you get, for example, a group reward. I don't think it'll be team of the season Jovic, but this is just an example, should I say. So that's how season works. And dynamic objectives, basically it's kind of happens at random events. It's kind of very sporadic. So let's say it's a Champions League final. They might have for example, let's say Real Madrid somehow get into the Champions League final. It might be, for example, something very simple as play rival games with 6 Real Madrid players or 11 Real Madrid players to earn a certain objective. So objectives like that during the Europa League final or certain times of the year. That's kind of be interesting. Kind of makes the game a bit more, makes the game more fun. They've also included 2 new kind of bare bones objectives, which I like to call it. They're foundation objectives, which are basically for new players. You know how, for example, they give you like in the menus there, for example, change your team name. It's kind of for the new players to understand, grasp the ropes, you can say, of learning the game. I'm actually really fan of that. A fan of that, should I say, because I think it's hard for people to just get into Ultimate Team and play it. I think if they make a good system where it's easy to learn, it'll be good. Milestone objectives are also long-term objectives. Now, this is a bit different from season. Season objectives only last for 1 month. So if, for example, from September to October, season 1, there's no objective, for example, to score 100 finish shot goals, you can't redeem that in October. So once the season is finished, it's done. But milestone objectives will last throughout the whole year. So there might be, for example, score 500 goals with 1 player to unlock, I don't know, a Jumbo Rare Players Pack. That's just an example. That's interesting. Gives us something to actually work towards as well, to actually grind the game. So that is the objective side. I'm actually really quite fond of that. And on that topic, should I say, they kind of revamped also Fut Friendlies. Now, I actually like this. The main things to take away, I don't want to talk about it too much, but the main things to take away is now they've finally fixed the system up. They got rid of so remember before, when previous FIFA like FIFA maybe 14, 15, I think when you played your friends, you didn't take up contracts, you didn't take up fitness or anything like that. They stopped that. So if you get a red card in friendlies, it doesn't carry on until until 2 rivals or Foot Champions. Fut Friendlies kind of is like a no loss game mode. So you can play it. If you get a red card, doesn't mean anything. Stats are not counted, so if you get a loss, it doesn't go on your record, and you don't use up fitness, which I think is very important. They added some new game modes, and Mystery Ball and King of the Hill. I mean, I think it's quite fun. I don't know, everyone's got an issue with this. I don't see an issue with it. It's just a bit of fun. Sometimes you're bored, you want to have some fun. I actually don't mind that. That's under the house rules. Their max chem, which I think is actually a solid idea. You can play against your friends. And just like use players out of position, and they'll get 100 chemistry or the full chem boost. I think that's actually a very good idea. I actually like that fact. Imagine with your mates, just have an example like playing a team full of strikers without getting 10 chemistry. It'd be very interesting. Maybe an all-out attack or something like that. So I actually like that. Swaps, I think, is actually interesting as well. Let's say, for example, 3 players are swapped. So if you play your friend randomly, 3 players of your team and their team will be swapped. Kind of gives you a chance to use, if they have a gold squad, to use their players, and you can have a bit of fun. Maybe you have some bronze players in your team, and fingers crossed. It's all random, by the way, but I think that's actually a very good, very good idea as well. They brought back traditional 11v11, which I think it's quite good. They have a new system to track your stats, so you can basically see, for example, which part of the goal you hit, which I think that is actually very cool. Fastest goal, most goals, shot conversion, goal time, short range, long range. I think this is actually really solid. What I would say is I wish they added this on for Ultimate Team Foot Champions. So if you clicked on the player, let's say for example you selected Neymar, it would say, for example, Neymar, how many goals he scored, short range, long range, free kicks, penalties, shot conversion for him, and which area of the goal he's hit. I think if they do, maybe it's kind of hard to implement. You could maybe say, because to code it and then make sure it's fluid, maybe that brings some issues, but that would have been a really cool idea. I'm sure they'll have something in mind for that for the future. But that is, should I say, from the Fut Friendlies kind of perspective. Now, what they have changed is the UI. So the whole squad management has kind of been revamped. I think this is actually a pretty good idea as well. There are some issues, I would say, in my opinion, from this perspective. I like the fact that it made it, in some respects, you can say it's evolved a lot throughout the years. Now it's, I would say, much more intuitive, user-friendly. Obviously, the biggest issue, which everyone seems to be missing out, is the delay. Now, to add all these features in, it's good. But if this is going to make the menus more delayed, it's going to be... for example, I like this, for example, this pane where if you press square or X on a player, you can just use your left analog stick, I'm presuming, just to maybe quickly go to quick sell or send. So you can do it very quickly on the fly. You don't have to wait for for example, the new menus to open up, or a new screen, or a new layer. I think it's actually really cool, but then how long will it take if I press square and I flick to the top left and I press X, all within 3 seconds, will it register? Will there be a delay in the menus? That's to be seen. Fingers crossed there's not. But I like it. It makes it more user-friendly, and it's a bit more of a minimalistic kind of feel to it, which I like personally. I'm more of a minimalistic kind of guy. I don't really like it kind of too much information. Managers have moved to the bench as well. I just noted that now. But I actually like the fact that they've actually revamped the user interface of it anyway. Contrary to some beliefs on Twitter, squad battle division rounds Foot Champs, the big question is draft still in the game? It is. Mr. Zorro, he did confirm, and I think Ty did confirm as well, that a draft is still in the game. So don't worry, people have been saying, is draft out of the game? I can assure you they've now confirmed it's not out of the game. Now moving on to squad battles while we're at it. Now I don't play squad battles, but they've kind of got a new kind of system. You can basically refresh to 4 new squads whenever you want, up to a limit of 10 or whatever it is for that day, so you don't have to wait anymore. I like the fact, for example, you can see so for example, if you're playing a certain team, you can see what tactics they're using, width plays in the box, width and depth for the possession and drop back. I think this is pretty neat. This kind of gives us a kind of some insight on tactics as well. It looks like it's going to be very much the same kind of system as last year, which I kind of regret. I wish they made tactics much more elaborate, as they did, like for example in FIFA 18. You could, for example, have so much more. Basically what I'm trying to say is my play is restricted in FIFA 19 because tactics were kind of very minimal. I was hoping they were to improve that. However, nonetheless, moving very much forward on, there are some other changes that they did mention. Pre-match changes. So for example, now you can select your opponent's kits, so how this will work is you can now see your opponent's kits. You can select to use either their kit or your kit. So there's an algorithm in the background. So if you're using a green and a light blue kit, the algorithm will give you an option to use your other kit, or you can use your opponent's kit depending on what you like. I think that's actually a pretty neat feature to make it, there's no point seeing the same kits again and again and again. Is this for Foot Champions as well? I don't know. Apparently, from my understanding, what they said on Twitter, well, I think Bateson did release information. I think Zorro did retweet it, or he liked the post, that apparently they're removing home games. So you can no longer play home games now. Thank God for this. Ever since I made that video, I'm so happy that the pool got mixed up. But they're still going to find a way. If I was a pro player, they're probably going to... If I was a pro player and I wanted to avoid other pro players, what I would probably do is maybe have one kit that they will use for that week, or maybe you wait 10 seconds in the menu. They'll find out a way no matter what. But for the average player, this wouldn't make too much of a difference, which is good. And another thing is bulk sale consumables. Now, if you're like me and you like to trade fitness, you like to buy it on Thursday for very cheap when people open packs and sell it on Sunday when it's prime time to finish your games. You can now sell them in bulk, which is actually pretty neat. So you have to wait any longer for that. The big issue, I think, is definitely division rivals. For Champions, there's some basic information, with just some information about the player picks, but that's not too much. But the big issue is with division rivals. Now, they've introduced... No, it's not a new system. It's the same system. But it's too low. Way too low. They can't have a skill rating of 1 point. Now, I understand in North America and the places like Australia, countries like Australia and the North America region, South America, maybe Australasia, all that, I would say. There's not that many players there, and it's hard to find games in Division 1. I understand that. But what they've done is they've made a system where you're capped. So now, once you reach over a 2.2 skill rating, your matchmaker will have a cap. Now, I think this is really bad, because if you want to push the pro scene, which they want to do this year, what they should have done is they should have made it over 2.5k, you get matched on skill rating. That's my opinion. What they should have done is made Division 1 2.2k skill rating, or even worst case scenario, I would say 2.1k. Worst case scenario. Yes, it might be hard to find a game, but I think Division 1 players should be Division 1 players. And I think after 2.5k, at the very least, what they should have done is, if you exceed 2.5k, you can choose to matchmake against someone else who will have the same skill rating. Because I think if you want to become a pro player and you want to test yourself, the way to do it in FIFA 19 was to play Division 1 and play rivals and grind it out. Play against other top 100 top pro players, because you don't really find a lot of pro players or top players in Foot Champions. Now they've changed that, so now they can't do it. Now pro players, it's fine for them. They have their own private Discord where they can play each other. But if you're like an average Joe and you want to become a pro player, have a go at becoming a pro player, or maybe try to see if you can compete, now you can't really do that, because now matchmaking is being capped. I'm not really a big fan of this. On that note, they have kind of removed, furthermore, you could say, adding on to that, the foot stadiums are more to this previous point. They've now, stopped the shadows, but that was basically a fixable feature. Finally, I just want to talk about the companion app. I think this is a very good idea as well. You can now create tactics and instructions in the companion app. I think that is very interesting, because now, for example, let's say I make a tutorial, I can be like, yeah, guys, get your phone out, and you can maybe, see the tactics on your phone or something like that. I think that's pretty sweet. I also like the fact that you can see a lot of the stuff that you can on the app. But more importantly, they added SBC protection now. Funnily enough, this happens quite a lot in Reddit. A lot of people have been saying that they might discard their cards or the wrong players in the companion app. So now the SBC protection, where you kind of get a second layer, a lot kind of feature asking you to, are you happy, or double check you're happy with the new features. As I said, apart from that, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, yes, I know people are saying it's quite generic, but it's good that they're telling us what's coming up and what's to expect. You can also, don't forget to pre-order the game before the 5th of August to get your limited one to watch players, so you can get a chance. You can get, for example, any of the players, like you can get Luka Jovic or Pepe going from Arsenal, something like that, if that deal goes through. So be sure to do it before the August the 5th. Also, the game we released on 27th officially. I think, however, if you pre-order it, you can play it 3 days earlier, from my understanding. And if you have EA access, you can play it from the 19th. But yeah, that's kind of the information. The icons are there as well, as I previously mentioned. To be honest, gameplay, time can only tell. When the game comes out and then we actually play the game, then we'll kind of get an understanding after that, what the gameplay is like. But this is just, what the features are. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoy this video. If you want to read more about the video or see any of these either the pitch notes or you want to see this the general FIFA 20 menu, the link will be in the description. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. Take it easy and I'll catch you in the next one.